in his old office. He had a big, heavy desk, and he was strong. He went like, it looked like he was going to pick it up and throw it at me. And he was screaming, 7 years, in 7 years, we won't know who's Jewish.
Wow. The BT View Podcast.
Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Sai. Baruch Sheach Yuni V'Kimuni V'Gihinu L'Zman Hazeh, to the first episode of the BT View, the Baal Tshuva View, dedicated to bringing the fascinating sincerity of Baalei Tshuva and their mentors to light, to give chizuk and strength to the entire extended community. Baruch Hashem, today we have the tremendous chis of interviewing one of the gedolim and leaders of Baalei Tshuva worldwide, Rabbi Yitzchak Berkovits. Rosh Yeshiva HaTorah, founder and Rosh Kollel of the Jerusalem Kollel, and recognized and accepted posek and guide for probably thousands and tens of thousands of Baalei Tshuva worldwide. Shalom Aleichem, the Rosh Yeshiva.
Aleichem Shalom, it's supposed to be part of this.
I have to start with my own HaKoros HaTov and thanks to the Rosh Yeshiva. You have affected profoundly my personal life.
How so?
You know, many people ask me, am I a Baal Tshuva? So my answer is, I might not be a Baal Tshuva because I was keeping Shulchan Aruch, it's my bar mitzvah. But the distance of journey that I traveled from being brought up modern Orthodox to then going on to become a Belzer Chassid is probably as long as the distance of journey that a Baal Tshuva generally makes from the secular world to going on to become a Yeshiva. So my background has allowed me to understand and really relate to the Baalei Tshuva. So in terms of ourselves, when we were settled already in the Belz community in Yerushalayim, and our oldest son was 6 years old, many of the viewers might actually be familiar with our oldest son, Ari Chaimowitz. So when he was 6 years old and his younger brother was 4, we came to the Rosh Yeshiva and we asked, how can we remain in this community? Who's going to want to make a shidduch with us? Don't we have to worry about the kids? And what you answered then was a guiding light for us throughout the years. You said, there will always be people who will appreciate you. There will always be people who won't appreciate you. You're going to make a shidduch with those who will appreciate you. And that mamash gave us the strength, and Baruch Hashem proved to be true. So I have special HaKoros HaTov, just the tremendous impact that you've had on our family. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So now for the listeners, they want to hear about, of course, the Rosh Yeshiva. Rabbi Yitzchak Berkovits grew up in the Yeshiva educational system, was recognized as a Metzion in those days in Mir Yerushalayim, led by Hagon HaGodel, Rab Nochem Pertzovitz, Zchon Levrucha. How does it come that someone so established in the Yeshiva world should find out about the Baal Tshuva world? How did it start?
So I always had a soft spot for Kiruv. Both of my parents were very proud of their Yiddishkeit. My father, very interesting, my father, Zachron Levrucha, he came to America and he needed parnasa. So, they came to the Lower East Side. What Ali Yidden do, they either went to the clothing line, either Shmatas or the diamond industry. He chose Shmatas. He needed a job. They told him there was nothing left in New York but Shmir Shabbos. So he took a job in Elizabeth, New Jersey in a shirt factory. He started from the very, very bottom. He wanted to work his way up, but they told him that you have to come in on Shabbos because everyone's working on Shabbos. So he said, why can't we come in on Sunday? He said, well, you have to convince everybody on the floor to come in on Sunday. He looks around, everybody spoke Yiddish. They were all Yidden Mechalei Shabbos. They came before the war. He was the only survivor there. He's the one that came after the war. One by one, he convinced them was switching Shabbos to Sunday. He got them all, he said, he had some of the wives called up and said, it hurt us so much that we couldn't keep Shabbos. Thank you for bringing us Shabbos.
Wow. So he was Makara back in those days.
Yeah. My mother was outspoken. She was outspoken about her emunah. She got a family that she worked with, a whole family to keep Shabbos. They were totally fresh. She got the whole family to keep Shabbos.
Wow. So it's not only a soft spot. It's actually B'Yerusha.
No. I grew up with that, but still, I was sitting in Yeshiva. I was sitting and learning. One day I get a message, Rebitz in Weinberg wants to speak to me. Rav Noach Rebitz. She was opening a seminary. I didn't know this. I never met her before. I'd read stories about Rav Noach. I saw him once, maybe a few times. My first Rosh Hashanah in the Mir was the first year of Aish. He brought his first Talmidim to daven in the Mir.
Wow.
Daven in the Mir.
That's history.
Yeah. So I went there. Rebbe in Weinberg. For anyone that knew Rebbe in Weinberg, in her typical manner, said, I'm opening a seminary. You're teaching halacha. Let's work out the hours so I don't interfere with your starim. And this is what you're getting paid.
Wow.
That's how I got involved, but it only started with that. What happened was she ran a very expensive seminary. They had an open account. Anyone can go to the local Nakolit and buy whatever they wanted.
That was the way Kiruv started at the beginning. To give the Baal Tshuva whatever they needed.
She had an all-star cast. She had teachers. They're the best teachers in Yerushalayim. And the ratio of teacher per student, it was, with tutors and whatnot, it was very expensive. And Reb Noach was financing it, and he just ran out of money. So Reb Noach came to the school and announced, we're closing the school because I can't afford it. The Rebbitzin sent me to negotiate with her husband to reopen the school. I met Reb Noach. I'd never spoken to him before. I had met a human being I'd never seen before. Shir Kaim of a human. He lived Emunah, but Emunah meaning without Siyata D'Shmaya, you're nothing. With Siyata D'Shmaya, there's nothing you can't do. There's nothing you can't do.
Wow.
He spoke about the future of Klal Yisrael. He spoke about our Achrais. I never heard anyone speak like that. I was just totally. At the end of our conversation, he said, okay, let's make a deal. I'll reopen Iyat, that was the seminary, but you're coming to Aish. So that was, I left full-time Koil then. To come to Aish. The truth is I moved in slowly because I heard that this is a place where people come and go very quickly. So I moved in slowly, and it was really special. It was really special.
So I guess my question would be, Reb Noach was known as a visionary in his day. I remember he would teach the students that just like a person was mechuyev in time the Holocaust to work for Pikuach Nefesh to save every Yid from the concentration camps, he would be mechuyev today when Yidden are assimilating to do whatever he can. And he lived his life that way. He was Moisa Nefesh his whole life.
I don't know if I would call it Mesiras Nefesh. Nothing else mattered to him. He had two things.
That was his life.
It was his learning. The Talmidim know about it. In the year back in the Mir, he was known as a Meshuggah. He learned like a Meshuggah. He used to take no dose so he could learn day and night without falling asleep. He memorized Simanim, Fagan Shas, Fagan Shulchan Aruch, Fagan Rambam. He had a ledger. If there was a minute in the day that he did not use properly, it was written down there. He has to do tshuva. His day was completely. He wouldn't waste a second. Then he got into Kiruv and he said that you can save Klal Yisrael, and everyone told him he was a Meshuggah. Everyone told him he was a Meshuggah. That's all that counted. It was his learning. Wow. It was his learning and saving Klal Yisrael.
So was it the godless ha'adam that Rabbi Berkovits saw, or was it more that the Rabbi Berkovits actually identified even with the message of the Rosh?
Both.
Of Rabbi
Both.
So how was it that the Rabbi Berkovits identified with Rabbi Noach's approach, being that even many of his contemporaries disagreed with him?
So like this, there were things that one of the most difficult encounters I had with him is he gave me an assignment of making a learning program where in 6 months a Talmud can go from Aleph Beis to Smicha.
That was his dream.
Aleph Beis to Smicha. And I said, it's not shaykh. He said, what do you mean? They're mechuyev too. They're chayiv in Tarek mitzvahs. They have to go and save Klal Yisrael also. You have to do it. He sent me home. To go around. I came back with a 7-year plan, which I thought was great. In 7 years from Aleph Beis to Smicha, that's not good enough. He was so angry. In his old office, he had a big, heavy desk, and he was strong. He went like, it looked like he was going to pick it up and throw it at me. And he was screaming, 7 years, in 7 years, we won't know who's Jewish.
Wow.
His yahrzeit was not so long ago, and I was trying to like relive what was it like. Every time I walked into Reb Noah's office, I had two feelings that at the same time. Number one, this feeling of elevation and empowerment. Yes, we can do anything. The second, fear. What is the next assignment he's going to give me?
Wow.
He was very demanding. He was demanding on himself. He was demanding on his Talmidim. Anytime you doubted your abilities, he called you an apikoros. That means this you think you can do. Well, listen, again, without siyata d'shmaya, you can do this, you're an apikoros. With siyata d'shmaya, you're limiting the Rabbanu Shalom. You're an apikoros. Over and over. He asked me to do things that I just didn't know how, and he would say, if you had Yiras Shamayim, he's always doubting my Yiras. If you had Yiras Shamayim, you would do this.
Wow. So someone who heard that message from the Rosh Yeshiva of Noach, certainly is right to be Rosh Yeshiva to hear such a message. So 16 years into being in Aish, where Rabbi Berkovits was Mashgiach and head of the Smicha program, I remember.
Menal Ruchni, the Mashgiach was Rav Gil Eisenbach.
Menal Ruchni of Aish. Rabbi Berkovits goes and founds the Jerusalem Kollel. What would the Rosh Yeshiva describe as the mission statement of the Jerusalem Kollel?
Very simple. I took a look at Yeshiva, like what was happening here, the chutzniks that came to Eretz Yisrael to learn. There was a certain percentage that stayed here and learned and grew and was totally orangutan and learning day and night. There are others that came here, they were learning, they were good. Their plan was to go back to America, and most of them were going into business. There was so much talent, and these are finding
potential.
It's such about tashchis. Why on earth should they not be dedicating their lives to Klal Yisrael?
If they can, yeah.
So I decided what I wanted to do was open a program that would be a hashlama. They were learning, now they're going to learn halacha l'maisa. They're going to learn to take sugis and turn them into l'maisa. At the same time, get lots of hashkafa.
Wow.
For a few years, we did the Gurari, the Maral on Chamisha Chumsha Torah. We went through it. L'maisa, very, 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 very l'maisa. We went through Hilchas Vedam L'Chaver. We went through a lot of things along, which is the sugyas of halacha that they covered for a smicha. And the idea was to send them out, whether it's rabbanim of weak communities, whether to build their own kiruv organizations or to work for other kiruv organizations. And Baruch Hashem, we had siyata d'shmaya. We have had hundreds of families, of couples that mamish all over the world. There was a tkufa that I believe the majority of placements that were being made in the world of kiruv were coming from the Jerusalem Kollel. At the very beginning, actually, Reb Noach sent us people from Aish to do the kiruv training.
Wow.
To do the kiruv training. There was also one thing that I think would very much interest our audience here, and that is I wanted a combination of regular Jungelite from Yeshiva and Balei Tshuva. My thought was that the FFBs, they knew the tzura of the Yid, the Yiddish, the expressions, the halachiyah of ben Torah, the nigunim, how to sing, and also they had spent so many years learning. I thought that they would be able to
interaction.
The Balei Tshuva, on the other hand, would be able to give them a broader view of Yiddishkeit and a certain sincerity. Sincerity, face it, you grow up from, you don't necessarily have that sincerity. To my surprise, it was almost entirely one way. The Balei Tshuva taught everyone else what hasmada looks like.
Wow. I thought the Rosh Yeshiva was going to say the other direction.
No.
That's amazing.
They taught them what hasmada was. They knew how to learn.
So in other words, the Rosh Yeshiva understands, or from experience can see, that when Baalei Tshuva join the Frum Welt, it's not only like they take a second-class seat, it's almost like they can actually enhance the Frum community.
They realize, when they sit side by side with FFBs and realize that they know how to learn just as well as them. Not only that, but their study habits are so much better. There's a Frischkeit. They haven't been learning since grade one.
The Frischkeit. Baal
It,
Shem Tov says the mile of a Baal Tshuva is his newness.
And they had such a good influence on the Torah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And Lamaisa, the Baalei Tshuva and the FFBs alike. Interestingly, I decided I'm not going around for Haskamis. Klal Yisrael needs this. I'm going to do it. Perhaps that was Rav Noach's influence. But I went to Rav Nosson Tzvi Zechron Levracha. When I was in
the Rosh Yeshiva of Mir at the time.
The Rosh Yeshiva of Mir at the time. When I came to the Mir, I was in his first chabura. I was in Rav Nachum's shir, but we had a chabura on Fridays where we took turns. He would say 1 week, and 1 week one of us would say. So
Wow.
Everyone knew there was no masmid like him. He was a murdig of Bal Kishrin. But I remember from then, and I went in, and I said, I'm opening a koil with this objective. I'm not coming to ask a shaila, but I desperately need a bracha.
Wow.
So he gave me a beautiful bracha
Wow.
with one t'nai.
Oh.
Don't pull anyone out of learning too early. So the way we made it is that we check with their Rabbeim. If they really felt that they could stay in learning longer, let them stay in learning longer.
Wow, amazing. So that was the Haskama.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
So I think a really important question for a lot of the listeners, if there are Baalei Tshuva families today, with a few kids acclimating into the family, what would the Rosh Yeshiva suggest is 1 or 2 key words of advice or insight that they need to know?
They have to be themselves. Of course, they're constantly growing. They have to be themselves. To pretend that they grew up in the Kiryat Sanz or in Borough Park, they're not being themselves. When they're themselves, they're respected. Are there people that won't respect them? Yeah, there are people that won't respect. But when they're trying to be what they're not, so first of all, what do they have to do it for? There's so much to respect in whom they are. I'm not saying
sometimes it depends what the measuring stick is. If the measuring stick is how much you accomplished in limud already, so they're obviously going to be lower on that measuring stick.
First of all, it's not obvious. It depends who. And even if they are, but for people to appreciate where you're coming from, who you are, because people have so much respect for it. There's the Chavetz Chaim, I always say in the beginning of Klal Daled, in Hilchos Lashon Hara, the Chavetz Chaim says that to say someone's about tshuva, be'etzim should not be Lashon Hara, because by the Rabbanu Shalom he's on a higher level than a tzaddik. If people don't understand that, then you can't say it, because then they'll hold it against him. They will hold less of him.
That's what the Chavetz Chaim says.
The Chavetz Chaim says, he says that be'etzim, it's a mile, it's not a tzorin. So people, Baalei Tshuva have to respect that. Well, there's one thing.
They have to respect themselves.
They have to respect themselves. Reb Noach, that's one thing he was matzliach in a very big way. He made Baalei Tshuva proud of being Baalei Tshuva. Them proud of being Baalei Tshuva. I mean, someone even a little over, he would have them challenge Yeshiva, like, do you know the Sheish Mitzvahs to me these? The idea of being oneself, and and if you're yourself, and you grow in your Yiddishkeit with that, then everything's real and everything's honest. And as you grow, but you're not thinking that you're somewhere where you're really not. And you're not trying to pretend that you're somewhere where you really are. And there's no reason why you have to. There's no reason. Baalei Tshuva are good. They're special. The ones that do that, their kids have a much easier time than the ones that are pretending. The ones that are pretending, kids pick up when a parent is real, the kids are real. When a parent's a pretender, the kids are mixed up.
That's really a lesson for life.
Baruch Hashem, I have so much nachas. We have now in Eretz Yisrael, it seems like this is the age of so many of our Talmidim. I can say this with Talmidim that we shared in those days. So many of our Talmidim, their children are now learning in Eretz Yisrael, in Brisk, in Prager's, in the Mir. It's you know.
True Yiddish nachas.
Yeah. They're just so beautiful.
Wow.
It is
Wow.
so beautiful.
Wow.
So really, to be real with whom you are, to grow at the pace that you're really growing, not to pretend, and not to be embarrassed, at all.
Because Be'etzim, it's not their fault. In other words, it's
not their fault.
Even in halacha, klape shemaya, they didn't cause themselves to be born where they were. It's min hashemayim, and it's considered oinus, and it's considered tinik shenishba, who has limited liability. There's almost no liability that's shy.
You know, an FFB is born perfect. There was a famous ma'aser. So some bacher that went into the Beis Yisrael, and he said, "I learned in Or Sameach, but I'm not a Baal Tshuva." So Beis Yisrael asked him, "Warum nicht?"
Allebei alles so done that Baal Tshuva. Yeah.
Why aren't you a Baal Tshuva? He has to do Tshuva.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Yeshiva, for this information and guidance, which is probably invaluable. I would say literally for thousands of listeners. So Hashem should help, and that Yeshiva should continue with Siyat D'Shmai, with Hatzlacha, to help Bali Tshuva to continue to acclimate into the Frum community for many years to come.
Amen. Hatzlacha in all the people that you help. You help so many people. You married off a whole door in Egypt.
Amen. And the listeners should please remember, the BT view matters. And speaking about what matters, we know today that if you leave a comment or sign up and certainly subscribe, it helps tremendously to forward all of our efforts. You can help us to bring you more of these episodes of the sincerity of Bali Tshuva to the forefront for the benefit of all of Klal Yisrael. Take care, Rabbi Isai. Till next time.
The BT View Podcast.